All right, everybody, welcome, welcome. I am happy to be starting the live stream this afternoon for me. Your time zone may be different. I see a couple of you there in the chat already, so hello to you. I'm glad you are here. I know there was a little bit of a mix-up between my blog and my announcement on the date, so I hope I got that cleared up for everybody. We will be here on Fridays. So if you can hear me, if I'm coming through okay, go ahead and drop a comment and let me know. I know there's a little bit of a delay between me going live and the comments coming through. So there we go. I see some hellos. All right. All right. So I'm just going to say a few words since this is a new series for my channel, and people, this will go onto the recorded part of my channel once the live stream is over. So for anybody who's new here, I do the Spellbinders Crafty Advent Calendar as a project in Decembers, and this past December I just had such a good time that I decided to turn it into a year-long project. And I've thought about this in the past, but technologically and emotionally I wasn't quite ready to do that, but this year is the year, so I'm happy to be carrying the Crafty Advent box of supplies through the rest of 2026 and hopefully coming up with some creative uses for some of these goodies. Tonight is a little simpler than some of my creations have been, and I'll show you some examples of what I mean by that a little bit later. So this is just kind of to help me get warmed up. So I hope you guys are gonna be okay with the project that we've got going on. So this is a craft along. I will every month put out a list of supplies in a PDF format so that you can follow along with what we're gonna be needing, and a sneak peek of the project that I've got planned, and then some options for other materials that you might want to have on hand. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're working on tonight. I have got all of my supply goodies over off to the side here. Ooh, that one's pretty heavy. Let me take that stuff out. All right, and then I should... thank you. You love the out of the box ideas. Tonight is a little less out of the box, but hopefully you will still enjoy it. I have some ideas coming for later, especially I have an idea for October and Halloween. It'll probably happen in September just because that gives you time if you want to do something with those cards to use them for October. But I'm really excited about that one, and I have a couple of other fun ideas. So I like my out of the box ideas too. They just don't always happen. So I'm going to switch screens here, and hopefully you can see me and my table now. And here is my little prep box of goodies. So I'm going to pull out the stuff that we're looking at tonight. And let's go ahead and take a look at the project that I have planned. So you guys have seen the sneak peek, I hope. I've posted it in a few places. So I have my blog, I have a Facebook group, I have Instagram, although I'm trying to get my act together to post to more places because YouTube usually takes all my focus. And then of course YouTube comments and the community tab there should have information posted to those places. So hopefully between those options you were able to find out what our project is. So we are going to be using the stencil that we got on, and I don't have it memorized, so I've got my own. This is what the printout will look like if you download the PDF prep file each month. So I got my game on with making sure it looks nice and ready to go. So we are using the stencil from day 22, which is a 3-piece layering stencil, and you can use them individually. I am using all of them tonight, but whenever I'm doing something, feel free to go your own way, use your own colors, use parts, but not other parts. That's all fine and good. And on my Facebook group, I do have folders set up so that if you do make projects and you want to share them, I've got albums set up there so that you can share projects over there if you would like to. Oh, she's enjoying the look at the project and the sneak peek. Now we are going to be making these tiles. And this was the very first idea I had when I opened this set. This is what I wanted to do with them. And because they are tiles, you can rearrange these in any way you see fit. If you just want to make a column of tiles, or I'm going to show some other shapes that you could organize these into. And I do have a few more examples to take a look at, so we'll do that. I'm going to set these to the side because we're going to need those soon. I've got my little package of prepped supplies. There wasn't too much prep work this time, so that should be okay. Oh, here's my card base, so we're going to need those a little bit later. We are going to be making a jig to make all of our tiles go faster with our stenciling. So this is the one I've been using to make all the samples that I'm going to show you, and I will start fresh on the back side so you guys can make the jig along with me so that we are all on the same page. And hopefully my pacing is okay. This is the first time I've ever done a craft along, so I'm a little nervous. Hopefully my pacing is okay, that you guys can keep up. That's the plan. Just let me know if I'm going a little too fast, you need me to slow down. Of course, I have done this a couple of times already to prepare, so I kind of already know what's happening next, so I can anticipate the next step. Yes, that. All right, so let's take a look at some of the examples. Let me clear some of this. So the first one is using, okay, let's start here. So when I opened the stencil that day, I believe this was the project I made that day. So I just used it as a sunshine instead of just a background idea. So I try to come up with something a little bit different than what other people might be doing, just to give you more ideas. But in future dates from that, what would be the word for that? In further dates along from when I opened this one up, I did do a few other things where I did use them as backgrounds. And this is the kind of thinking that I'm hoping to come up with later on, where we had a worm and then I turned it into a snake. So those are the kind of ideas that I'm hoping to share in this series. And here we had, this was one of the days that had little wavy background pieces, and I turned them into trees. So again, those are the ideas that I'm going to try and share throughout this series. So I'm going to tuck those away. This was just one more example of a way to use the stencil that's atypical. So I used a piece of tape to mask off sections of it, and then I stenciled half above and half below, and because the cardstock isn't extra long, you can only see a quarter of that. So here's one idea for the stencil. And then here are the tile ideas that we will be making tonight. These three, not that one, these three all use the same color palette, and you can see depending on how you treat your ink blending, you can get very different color palettes. So this one is a very light-handed ink blending, and instead of, I do have a paste planned for tonight, so you can see the sparkle on there. But if you don't want to wait for a paste to dry, you could try a glitter brush, and that is what I did on this one. Let's see if the camera will pick it up at all. Yeah, there's some glitter, you can see that. So that one was just with a glitter brush, so there's very little dry time involved with that. This one and this one are related. So I used white pigment ink on top of a dark colored cardstock, and you could use any color of cardstock. And then with this one, it's the same white ink, but then I used color ink on top of that so that you can see more of the colors on top of that red cardstock. And if you don't base it with white ink first, you can see how the colors get really muted into the background. So if you want to try getting brighter colors on a dark cardstock, you can lay down your white pigment ink first, let it dry. I hit mine with a heat tool. Sometimes I let it dry overnight. It depends on your white pigment ink. Some of them really stay moist for a long time and they will smear, so use the white pigment ink with caution and make sure it has plenty of time to dry. But these are all just some other ideas. And then finally, because it was inspired by tiles, with this one, I did die cut, well, it's not die cut, I just stacked up extra pieces to give it some thickness, and then I coated it with a clear product. I put too much on here, and it's a little bit too thick, but hopefully you get the idea that you could make them look more glassy like tiles. So lots of options that I hope to share along the way. I will go ahead and set this stuff off to the side so we can get started. So what we're going to need to do is create our jig first. So if you have that scrap piece of cardstock that I called for, it says a 5 by 10 inch-ish piece of cardstock. So just something that we can get messy, and we're going to create a jig to keep everything lined up so that we don't have to worry about the alignment over and over again. All right, so I'm gonna grab some temporary adhesive. If you don't have a temporary adhesive runner, you can use some tape and do the little trick where you fold it into a loop and tape it down. But I like my tape runner. This is a Herma brand, and the tape runner used to be called Dotto, but they have a new name for it. I think it's just Transfer. I think I put it on my list so I can remember. Yeah, it's just called Transfer Refill, and there are links on there, and those are affiliate links. So if you use my shopping links, it doesn't cost you anything extra, and I super appreciate it because I do get a little bit of a thank you from the companies. So that is that. But this is what I've been using this for years and years, and I love it. So we are going to take one of our squares, and hopefully you got all your squares cut. There's nothing too complicated. They're just 1 3/4 inch by 1 3/4 inch of white cardstock. And we are going to take one of our squares to start our template. This one might get messy because we are going to trace around it. So if you have an extra one or you need to cut an extra one, go ahead and do that. You haven't had good luck with white pigment ink. Yeah, I taught a class many years ago with white pigment ink, and it was smearing everywhere. It was terrible. Pigment inks have changed since then, so yeah, white pigment ink can be a challenge. I get that. All right, we are going to start with our first stencil, and I have marked my stencil. The stencils do have numbers in the corner. I put a little piece of Scotch tape over that and used a Sharpie marker to mark my numbers. We just want to try and keep them in the same orientation so that when we're moving between our stencils, you don't have to think, you just have to make sure your number's in the bottom corner. I also, for your convenience, have put some arrows on here, so as we're making this jig, you can get an idea of how we need to line everything up. So I've got my square. I'm going to move this out of the way just so we have a better color contrast. I've got my white square, and I'm going to put it underneath my stencil. And I want the corners of my square to line up in the corners of these holes of the stencil, and that's pretty much in alignment with the tip of the stencil. So if you look at the corner of your white square, it's going to make pretty much a straight line up to the corner of the stencil. And I'm going to look in each corner and just kind of make sure that I get them even. So if you want to take a look at that and see if you can get your stencil going, I'm going to pinch this like a sandwich. I'm going to put some of my adhesive on the back of that. Make sure it's still lined up. Grab the piece that's going to be our jig, and then I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. Pencil. I don't think I put a pencil on our list, but hopefully you have a pen or a pencil somewhere nearby. And we are going to trace our stencil. We will tape this down later, but again, this is going to help us get our alignment going faster and without having to think about it too much. And because we have that temporary adhesive there, that will stay put. So I'm going to go ahead and trace that one as well. And this is going to be our jig. Now, most of the adhesive I put on here will stay on here, so I'm going to add a little bit more to my jig so that this will stay sticky throughout our stenciling session. This one might have a little bit of pencil marking on it. I'm just going to erase that, and I think this one will be good to use, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. So I'm going to place my first square back into its place on my jig, I will take my first stencil, place it back into its place on the jig, and I'm kind of looking to make sure things haven't slipped or moved on me. And this is not going to be 100% perfect. We're just getting it really close, and this will help us stay as close as possible without stressing out about any math or anything like that. And then I'm going to put a piece of tape. When I was doing all of these, I did tape it on the side to make a hinge, but I'm going to tape it in the corner because this will slip and slide less, and we'll have less possibility of it going off on us. So I'm going to give you guys a moment to catch up. I'm going to take a sip of my drink. All right, I'm curious what colors you guys are going to be working with. I love teal, and if you've been on my channel for a while, you'll probably notice that all my graphics have teal in them. So that is my favorite color palette, so I'm going to be working with that, which is luckily right here. So I am a fan of Concord and Ninth inks, so I've got Eucalyptus and Lakefront and Tide Pool. So I'm going to start with my darkest ink, and that's going to help when we align the next layer. We'll be able to see that dark ink through our stencil, and that will help with the alignment for the next step. So hopefully you guys are ready to go. I am just going to be using one blending brush the whole time. I have a rag here. I use a lot of rags. I just throw them in the laundry with my regular load of towels. I've never had any problems with ink transferring to other things in the laundry, so I just work with rags all the time. And I have my spray bottle of water for cleaning up, and this will help me because I am starting with a darker color of ink. My blending brush will be dark, and I don't want to put my dark ink into a lighter ink pad, so I will just kind of give it a wipe off on the side in between colors. Purples, you've got purples going on, nice. All right, so we are just gonna start blending. So a lot of this craft along is really just time for blending. So hopefully, let's see, I'm checking on the time. I think we're doing good so far. So I'm gonna get my inking started up here. I'm using these jumbo brushes. Use what you have. For these stencils, it really doesn't matter. I just like these ones. They feel good in my hand. So that's what I use. I do, however, when I'm inking up my blending brush, I do like to make sure that I'm spreading that all around so I don't have any hot spots, because if you go straight on, you've probably all been there where you get that hot spot of inking. So I just kind of like to blend it on there and make sure. My throat does get dry, so I'm glad I have my thing to sip with, my drink over there. So yeah, we're just gonna get started. And because this is a template, we don't have to worry about being neat and tidy with our blending. See, it did shift on me, so I am going to hold it down. I'm having a little bit of wrist trouble, so I'm gonna use my magnet. But I'm gonna hold it down and see, make sure we don't get too much more shifting, and we'll get that one blended. Now this hinge is not super convenient, but it'll do. So do what you need to do with your hinge. And now, because of that temporary adhesive, we can pop it off and set it aside until we're ready for the next layer. And we're just gonna do 8 to 10 of these. Because you can see from my design, I have some empty space on my card. If you want to fill the entire card front, you'll need 10. Even with this, I used, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I had to cut extra pieces off of different parts to make everything line up. So if you don't want to have to worry about doing that, then make yourself some extra tiles. And then you don't have to worry too much about making sure you have the right piece left over to fill in a gap. But for now, we are just going to keep inking our tiles. I don't remember how many I cut. I think I cut extra so that in case I had a boo-boo, I could do it again. So I've got one done. Let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I will plan on doing 8 again, and then I can show you how I used them to cut off the extra pieces. All right, so with our next one, oh, these were my notes to myself to remember how to do the jig, and I think I got it okay. So are you guys doing okay? Yeah. You got the jig down? Are there any questions? I'm just gonna tack that into place, and that temporary adhesive will hold it there. And we are just going to keep blending. And because I have a big blending brush, it will go a little bit quicker maybe than a smaller blending brush. So it depends on what you're working with. And then we just keep moving along. So this is the part where we have to fill in the time. So this will give me a little more time to read any comments that you guys have. So if you have any comments or questions, you can pop them in there. I'd love to know what your guys' favorite product was from the Advent calendar. Because I know I had some favorites, and there's definitely some that were not favorites, but you know what? No company can make everybody 100% happy, so I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that. I love my Advent. I've been doing it for 5 years, I think. Is this the 5th year? Since they started. I've been doing it since they started. Okay, you're moving along, not super straight. Like I said, I've done this a little bit already, so I think making sure the stencil, like you got your jig lined up just right. In fact, mine shifted here a little bit, so I'm gonna move it back. And keeping the stencil down, that helps. But again, it's not gonna be perfect, but I don't want to do the math for it to be perfect. I'm okay with doing math, but if I don't have to, I don't want to. So we're gonna we're gonna be ish about it. We're gonna be straight ish. Okay, and we just keep moving. And make sure, yeah, every time I lift that up, it's getting a little crooked on me. So I'm just gonna kind of make sure it's shifted back. And putting these arrows on there did help for me. If you've got a Sharpie marker, you could do that on your stencil. They will wear off eventually. If you want to take them off, you can use alcohol, rubbing alcohol to take them off. But that is something that is helping me over here. They will all be equally off center. That is true. Very true. Oh, I forgot to show you my graphic. One of the things I was thinking of, you guys keep working. One of the things I was thinking of when I saw this stencil, see if I can find, I have all of these settings in my streaming software to have, oh, there it is. Let's see, I gotta go this way. Which fingers point? Okay, I am still not used to being backwards on the screen, but these were the tiles that I totally had in my mind when I saw this stencil. So that is where this idea comes from. All right, here we go. Back to stenciling. Oh, I forgot to put my square down. I've just stenciled my glue. That is okay. It should still be sticky. There we go. There we go. Number 6. All right, moving along. Let's see. I just finished number 6 as well, so we're kind of at the same pace. So it's pretty good. All right. I am going to take a sip of my drink. Normally I would have water at this point, but I made a very late afternoon cup of coffee because I was feeling kind of nervous and just kind of pacing around. So I sat down with my warm cup of coffee and then I got distracted by something else, so it was sitting here. I have a coffee warmer sitting over on the side that I won at a White Elephant Christmas party a couple years ago, and it's been brilliant. So, keeps my coffee warm for me. All right, where are we at? Did I get, yep, I got one down. So let's keep going. So I've got 6, and that makes 7. And these are pretty just as they are. You can just keep them like this if you don't want to keep ink blending, because I know it does take some time and I know my hands get tired, so you could always just leave them like this. It's just up to you and what you want to do. So I will get my last one in place and call that one good. All right. Oh, not a crispy Diet Coke. You watch Alicia, don't you? I'm curious now because I follow Call Me Crafty Al and I enjoy her Advent series, and she loves crispy Diet Coke. So that is totally what reminds me of that. Okay, so I've got my darkest color done. I'm gonna go ahead and set that off to the side. I'm gonna spray onto my rag because if I get my brush sprayed, it'll get too wet and it'll start causing the inks to bleed. So I don't want to get my brush wet. I just want to use my rag with a little bit of water. And I absolutely adore the Spellbinders, do they call them Mighty Misters? These things are great. It took me a long time to get used to it because the spray, you press the trigger and it just keeps going, but it is a super light mist of spray. And it took me a while to get used to the fact that it keeps going, but I absolutely love it. So I highly recommend if you need a good spray bottle. Hello, Lynn. Welcome. I'm so glad you could make it. I know Lynn from various crafty areas of life, and she's always been supportive. I'm so happy you could be here, Lynn. All right, so that is good enough. You can see, actually, it's really good that I can move on to my next color. So I will wash these later, but yes, you'll have to clean them up at some point. I'm going to grab my next stencil, and because they are numbered, I will go ahead and go in number order, but really it doesn't matter. You can just do what you want to do. You just want to make sure that your stencils line up, because if they get rotated, they may not line up correctly. So having the number down in the bottom right corner is helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and stick. So I've got my little tray of all my pieces here. I'm going to stick this down, and because we have that drawn template on there, we can go ahead and get our next stencil pretty easily in place. I'm going to grab the tape from my previous one. Oh, where am I at? I am in Washington State. So I live very close to the border between Washington and Oregon, and Portland, Oregon is right at that border of Oregon. So I'm very close to Portland, Oregon, but I'm actually in Washington State. So yeah, that's part of the reason why it is 4 p.m. Pacific, so that I can fit lives into my quote-unquote work day and still be able to, we go out with friends almost every Friday night, and sometimes we'll have dinner, sometimes we'll just go, to someone's house and play games. So we do have a game night planned for tonight. What? You're here too? Oh, I think I might have seen you join over in the Facebook group. I saw somebody from hometown. So yeah, oh my goodness, that is so hilarious. That is so, we should get together. Message me on Facebook if you want to meet me in crazy real life. We should get together. All right, that is so fun. That is crazy. All right. Stencil number 2, my brush is clean. At this point, it doesn't matter what color you move on to next, but having the ability to see that dark color through the stencil helps make sure that everything is aligned. And actually I see that it is a little crooked, so I'm gonna straighten it up a little bit. And like you said, they will all be equally crooked, right? So if I get this one close enough, the next ones will be see your hooray. The next ones will be equally straight enough. Ish. That is my word, ish. All right. So I'm going to continue with my teals. Lynn, are you crafting along? I'm curious. Did I wash stencil number 1? No, not yet. I just set it off to the side of another. I love these trays. These are actually lids for, if I switch back to face view, over that way you can see I have some bins on that shelf. Those bins are from scrapbook.com and they come with, oh, now I'm on the other camera, they come with these lids, but as you can see the stuff is taller than the bins, so I don't use the lids, but I use the lids for these trays all the time. So if we go back over here, yeah, so these are the lids from the trays, and I have a huge stack of them and I love them. Spellbinders does have their own set of trays very much like this. They're stack and sort trays, I believe they're called, but I already have mine, so this is what I use. Let's see, we have 2 Lyns in here. Well, welcome welcome to the other Lynn as well. I know Lynn C, so I will be saying hi to Lynn along the way, so hopefully I don't confuse everybody. Yes, the YouTube rule is, oh, you're in Washington too. Awesome. The YouTube rule is you have to be, or I am allowed to set that rule because it helps keep trolls out. You have to be a subscriber for at least 20 minutes before you can comment, so that we try and keep the trolls out, because it's just me. I don't have a lot of control over checking on the chat and make sure nothing's going on over there. So yeah, there was the 20-minute rule. But I'm glad you stuck around and that you were able to finally get yourself in here and hang out with us. So welcome, welcome. All right, we are Michelle. Yes, I see another Lynn in there. So we've got 2 Lyns and we've got Michelle. Nice. All right. I am working on my second color, so hopefully you guys are getting your second color, or if you're just watching along, you do you. Hopefully you're getting something fun out of our little crafty evening. Let's see, did that get all of the spots? Yes, I think it did. So we can see we've got another layer going on there, so I'm going to continue working on my little tray, and we just keep moving along. All right. Well, I'm glad you guys are all joining me on this Friday afternoon on my time zone. I know everybody's in different parts. Yeah. The YouTube lets me set how long I can make that delay before people can start commenting. Now, if somebody really wanted to, they could stick around for the 20 minutes and then start trolling after that, but hopefully they've got better people to go troll than me. So that is the setting, and as long as it's working for everybody, I'm going to keep it like that. All right, that one's a little crooked, but I am okay with that. I'm going to keep moving along. I get, part of what I didn't mention earlier, and I should have paid attention to this, is that if you keep these oriented the way that you take them out, so that when you put them back in, they're in the same alignment. So let me see if I can figure out how I did that. That does not look like it was the right alignment. Nope. I can see the center circle of my stencil, and if that's not lining up, then I need to rotate my piece to make sure that I'm getting things aligned. So I'm going to move mine a little bit because it did get offset again. All right. Rinse and repeat. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I know, it's like I enjoy this kind of zen part of crafting, because it just gives me time to just work. And as you see each piece come to life, you have that anticipation of getting the whole project on. So hopefully you guys are okay with the time it takes to get all of our stenciling done. And this one is definitely not aligned either. Okay, I tell you, I did not have this challenge the first time I did this project. That's why I came up with this jig, but patience. Let's see, I think I already tried it that way. Patience and it will work out. All right. So I think I'm gonna try and be a little more careful when I put these out, that I'm paying a little more attention to their orientation for the third stencil. And that will make the third stencil go a little bit smoother. Okay, keep it in that orientation and put it down. There we go. And okay, they're all gonna be different. You know what? I'm gonna try and take a look at these. See if I can figure them all out at the same time. Okay, these have just a nip of ink at the top. So I think if I keep them all in that orientation as I work, then we'll be back on track with having a working jig. There we go. Except for you have to ink through the stencil. There we go. Okay, I think that'll be better. Yep, that looks good. Okay, keep it in that orientation and we should be good to go. Yep, see, that lined up much better. Okay, I think I had all my squares just kind of scattered about so they didn't keep their own orientation as I was working. You forgot to blend clockwise and counterclockwise. Yeah, especially with these stencils that have smaller holes, it is a good idea to go around in circles, clockwise, counterclockwise, back and forth, so that your bristles get down into all those nooks and crannies. But the good thing is you can always flip it over and use the back side too. Mass producing helps you learn new tips, yes, for sure. And this is a good one for mass producing. I do a project, oh, that one's a little off actually. We'll see, maybe I just won't use that one. I'm gonna set it to the side for now. And then I am ready for stencil number 3. So again, I will wash this later, but yes, making mistakes and then learning from them for sure. Both learning how to do things a better way, and also I've made mistakes where I've learned accidental techniques. So yeah, definitely I love to experiment. I love to try things and see what happens. Does it always work? No. I've made a lot of really ugly things, but then when you hit on the thing that does work, then it's beautiful. All right, so let's clean up that ink. My towel is still just a little bit damp, so I'm just gonna kind of rub off a little bit of that excess ink, and then we can start with stencil number 3. Okay, so everything should be in the correct orientation. I'm gonna start with these two because these were the ones that were the most off. And in fact, that one looks pretty off, but I'm gonna just keep working with it. Let me see. I'm gonna try and make this align. There we go. Okay. Because I know these two are the ones that are not in the correct orientation, so I'm gonna do these ones freehand, and then I will go back to using the jig. So this is my eucalyptus, my green color. Try and blend in those hot spots. Okay. And with so much pattern going on the final card, any little oopsies aren't going to be super noticeable, so that'll all be okay. Now that I have it in this orientation, I'm going to make sure I'm going to keep it that way, because the next layer I do is going to be the glittery stencil paste. And if you don't want to do that layer, totally feel free to skip it. All right, but I like glitter that doesn't rub off on everything. Loose glitter is a no-no in my space, but glitter paste, I'm all for. So here we go. We're getting close. All right. Oh, that's looking good, you guys. This is so pretty. And if you missed it, I do have Facebook group with albums set up, so that if you want to share your projects, I would love to see them. I'd love to see other people's color palettes and how you end up arranging your card. No glitter. There are people who love their glitter, and I try. I tell you, I'm a big fan of the Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine, the Crop and Create delivered classes, and Jen Shirkus always teaches for Lawn Fawn, and she is all about glitter all the things. And I try, every time I try, and every time I'm like, nope, glitter is not for me. Loose glitter. I do love sparkle, but the loose glitter is not gonna do it. You seem to think that people who like glitter have some problems. We all like our own things, don't we? That's for sure. I am not going to begrudge anybody their own glitter, but I don't want it in my house. My kids took classes at a resource center, and I've never confirmed that this story is true, but there was a story that one of the classes used open glitter on one of their project, and then everybody marched the project all over the building to show it off. And then glitter got banned from the building. So that was before our time there. My kids are grown now. My youngest just turned 19. But yeah, once upon a time, that was the story from their resource center. Okay, this one is off. For some reason, nope, that's still not it. Oh boy. See, I made a jig and then I'm having trouble with it. So much for the teacher knowing what's going on, huh? That's okay. Yeah, my husband hates glitter more than I do, so I just packed up all of our Christmas stuff. I'm very slow at just about everything, but I just packed up all of our Christmas stuff, and I'm saving the Christmas cards that we get to make a garland, and I'm going to cut them into banner shapes and make a garland out of them. And of course the Christmas cards have glitter on them, and I start getting glitter all over the house. He's like, don't touch me, you're glittery. So yeah, there's a lot of people who just do not like glitter, and I understand. All right, last one. And then I'm going to get out my stencil paste. Oh, you know what I did not do is set up a bin of water for soaking my stencil paste. So I'll let you guys keep working on your squares. I'm going to grab myself, I keep a jug of water by my desk, so just for these occasions. This is what I used for my stencils. It's just a baking dish from some kind of frozen meal, lasagna or something. And so this is what I keep by my desk for soaking my stencils. And I'm just gonna put enough in there to soak it so I don't have to clean it now. And I will set that out of the way so I don't spill it, because I am super clumsy and I will knock everything over. Okay, so all of that was to get ready for stencil paste. And I absolutely love Simon Hurley's stencil pastes. I have yet to have any of his pastes dry out on me, and that is saying a lot. This one I got at one of those events that I mentioned, one of the Crop and Create delivered events. This is a sample size of the paste. I think they get, yeah, this says 1.8 ounces, I think, if I can read that correctly. I think they come in 2 ounces and 4 ounces, something like that. So I love this stuff. This one is called Unicorn Horn. So it's a clear paste with the glitter in it, and it's an iridescent-y glitter. 4 of 9 on stencil number 3. No paste. Okay. Yeah, glitter pin for sure. Yep. So you can see how much of the jar I've used because I really like this stuff. It's nice and clear, and it dries pretty quickly. So while we do other parts of the card, I'm going to leave these set aside to dry. And when I was doing the sample for the sneak peek, it was mostly dry by the time I was ready to assemble the card. So fingers crossed that mine will be dry. And if not, I will just be careful with it, and I might smudge it a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. All right, I do have one of my tiles here in place already. I'm going to leave the lid on that just for a moment because I need to clean this one stencil because I'm only glitter pasting one layer, and I'm just going to work with the final layer. You can do whatever layer you want to do, or there is a product, I don't have it, but it's like a spray glitter, and I like the look of it. I have so many things already that I haven't, made an effort to track that down, but that is something I want to try in the future so that you can just spray a glittery mist over everything. And it's not as liquidy as a lot of mist sprays are. This is more like a can of spray paint. I have no idea what it is. I've just seen it around. Jennifer McGuire uses it. If any of you follow Jennifer McGuire, she does that. All right, so I'm gonna try and keep this stencil as even as possible because every time I move it, I have run the risk of smearing stencil paste. So I want to try and be really careful about getting things lined up this time. So I am going to do my best. I've got my stencil paste. I've got just a very cheapy craft knife, stencil knife here. So I'm not gonna use any fancy tools or anything. So I'm just gonna take off, like, it's a little more than what you would use on your toothbrush as toothpaste. And I'm just gonna start at the top, add a little bit, and then scrape it down. And that's it. Scrape off the extra. I'm not gonna put it back in the jar just yet. And then I'm gonna lift it by the corner and kind of pop. At this point, the sticky is been used a couple of times so that it's not super sticky, so this should pop off okay. And then you can see how pretty the glitter is. I love it. So I'm gonna keep working with these, and hopefully, nope, my orientation. Okay. And 2. So even though we're stenciling with paste, this does go fairly quickly, and it's not super messy. I mean, I can feel that I've just given myself a little blob there, but this stuff washes off okay. Okay, that's number 3. So you can see it doesn't take too long. And when you have this jig set up correctly, it's definitely helpful. Okay, and you see from that original blob, we're still going, so it even doesn't take a lot of paste to get a lot of impact on there. Oops, you'll see I just overlapped those, so they'll be a little smudged. That's okay. Okay, this is one of my crooked. Nope, that lined up okay. You could even offset these and do a purposefully offset, either with ink itself, like give it a shadow layer with like a gray ink or something, or offset the stencil paste. I had a mistake, and that's where we talk about one of those fortuitous mistakes. I had a mistake where it was pretty offset, like halfway offset, and it looked really interesting, so I played around with that one a little bit more. Okay, that one is definitely not quite as lined up, but the jig still gets us pretty close, so I think the jig is still worth it. And again, if you don't want to use paste, you can always, I did add sequins to the final project, but you could use that as your bling entirely and just skip any other glittery product. You don't have to make, the jig is super helpful. Yes, I'm glad you're having an easier time with it. I've done this a couple of times and it was working fine, and of course tonight I'm having a little bit more of a challenge than I did previously, so it is what it is. Okay, and that is my last layer of paste. Now sometimes your paste will pick up ink from the ink underneath it and tint it, in which case I would throw it away, but this still looks pretty clean, so I'm gonna just put it back in the jar. And I'm gonna close that up. And then I'm gonna toss my stencil into the water, and I'm gonna go ahead and toss all of these, everything that's dirty, I'm just gonna toss it all into the same water. Okay, let's see, I still have one of my tiles on here, so let me pop that out. Okay, I'm gonna set it on my tray, and I'm gonna set that aside to dry. I do have that extra one if I need to go back and finish that one. Okay, I'm gonna fold this in half so that all the sticky paste is on the inside, and I'm gonna go ahead and toss this at this point into my garbage. I use the same rags for cleaning up my hands and my table as I use for cleaning up everything else, so I'm gonna de-sticky the little bit of stencil paste that I got on me. And then, like I said, I just throw these in the regular laundry. I never use so much glitter that it gets on the rest of the laundry, but I do it with the towels, so even if it does get on some of the towels, I'm not too worried about it. It's not like my, my work clothes are getting messy or anything. Okay, I am going to be a little bit glittery, but it's stuck on me. It's not going to spread all over the house. And then, okay, that's nice and closed. And then let's get the work surface cleaned up. And because we have that jig, it shouldn't spread too much mess around, but because I touched a few spots here and there, I got a little bit on there, so that'll clean that. All right. So while that's drying, we're gonna work on doing the sentiment, and of course you can use whatever sentiment you want. Oh, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, she's saying if you are enjoying the video, giving it a thumbs up. That is super helpful in YouTube land to make sure that my videos get to the right people, so that crafters are finding what they're looking for out there on YouTube. All right, we're gonna work on the sentiment. You can do this however you want. I used of course I've got to get my notes here. I used the sentiment from day 4, and that is the Hello You, and then also the background. I am going to color a little piece of paper with one of my ink pads direct to ink to turn the background the color. And then I'm using the same gray that I used on the card base over the top. But that means that you will see, let's see if I can hold this up. So in those letters, you see white behind the letters instead of the blue or the teal that I colored the background. So we're going to add a white layer behind the sentiment as well as that colored layer. And of course, do your title however you want it to go. But I'm going to cut down a piece of this first to save a white piece to add behind my title. So a scrap of white should have been on your prep list. And I'm just going to cut this really close because we don't need a lot of extra room for doing anything else with it. And then I'm going to color it. I think last time I used Lakefront. I think this time I'm going to try Tide Pool. And I'm just going to do direct to paper by dragging over. There we go. And if you want to use colored cards, pardon me, if you want to use colored cardstock, go ahead and do that. But this way the cardstock definitely coordinates with the colors that you've used for your stenciling. I think I'm going to add a little bit more ink up to this corner. A little more ink down here. Okay, that will do. Make sure I don't get any smudgy ink on anything else. Okay, and then I'm going to die cut that. At the same time, I've got a scrap of the background, and I did choose gray because I wanted it to look more like grout in between tiles. Again, use whatever color you want to use. And this was just a leftover scrap from cutting card bases and whatnot. So I'm going to cut that down so I can send it through the die cut machine. Alright, I have a magnet on my die cut machine, so I shouldn't have to tape it in place. It should go through okay. Although sometimes I have a very hard time on my die cut machine getting the letters to cut all the way through. So I have a little tiny portable die cut machine that I may try using if this isn't working. But one of the tips that I found on a previous die cut machine was that if you take a scrap piece of copy paper, so just regular printer paper, and put it underneath, that can help. So let me try that if I can find. There we go. I keep this bin of all my whitish scraps because I used to make handmade paper once upon a time, and I think I'm gonna go back to making handmade paper, so I'm saving all my white scraps for that. Do your Hello You letters pop through for you? So sometimes, and that's why I am trying this trick with the copy paper. So I will add a shim, but also using just an extra piece of copy paper. It didn't work with cardstock because I think that was too thick, but using this extra sheet of copy paper is a trick sometimes that I use with fussy dies. So if I'm cutting vellum or acetate, or sometimes these more intricate dies, for some reason that sheet of white sometimes helps. So we'll see how it does this time. And then if my main die cut machine doesn't work, I do have that little portable one like I mentioned. So yeah, the little dropout letters on these Spellbinders dies can be challenging. And I know if you have the Spellbinders die cut machine, they probably have it tuned in just right. Let's see, did this work? It did. Oh. No, it did not. Okay, so no, that did not work for me. I'm gonna try my little die cutter. So I will set, let's see, I've got my magnet here so I don't lose my dies. I do have extra so I can try again. And then I know in the past that if it hasn't come out all the way, I've used pins just to trace inside the letters. So you can use a white gel pen or whatever black pen that you have that you want to do that. And you can just trace inside the letters if they don't cut all the way out. Let's see if, I'm going to try one more time and we'll see if I can get it. But yeah, I think you are not the only one who has problems with that cutting through. So now, let me pull out my little guy. This is my little guy. It is a We Are, well, it used to be We Are Memories Keepers, but now it's We Are Makers. And I think they still make this. It's just very simple little die cut machine. You can see some of my previous letters have cut out and done just fine because they stay embedded in the in the plastic. All right, so we're gonna use that die again. I've got my scrap of cardstock. And then I will go ahead and do the paper trick again. See if I can get it to work for me. Yep, everything's, because it's a scrap, it's all not wanting to sit flat. Okay, let's see if I can get this little guy to go. So I'm gonna go forward and backwards, and we'll see if I have any better luck. And then I can move all of this stuff out of the way. I'm gonna keep that one just in case if I need a second one as a backup. I can move that, I can move that. And let's see how this one did. Okay, definitely didn't stick anywhere in there, and it feels like it's stuck into, okay, the white paper. That one worked okay. I have a couple of spots that's still left. So I can take my pokey tool, see if I can just pop out the spots that are still left. Yep, that one popped out. Oh, I see a little bit left in the E. So yeah, if you're having trouble with these, try different shim layers. Because I use the scrapbook.com magic mats, those are squishier, so maybe making sure that your die cut plate is the hard plastic kind and not any other kind, that might make a difference. So this one definitely worked. So that little die cut machine sometimes does the trick when my other die cut machine doesn't. So I'm glad I have an option. I know not everybody does, so you just have to experiment until you find the recipe that works. Cut side up works better for some reason. Yeah, so if you reverse your sandwich, there's something about the pressure in the machines, and I watched a whole, Spellbinders had an info session on how these machines are manufactured and all the precision and margin of error that these machines have to deal with is really interesting. I think that was on Janis Makula's YouTube channel, so if you want to check that out, I recommend it. I nerd out over some of that technical stuff. Okay, we've got our sentiment backing, our sentiment. I want to make sure I don't lose my die because I think I did lose my white piece for backing my letters. It's here somewhere. Okay, that's all recycling. Maybe I stuck it over here. Oh well, I am gonna grab another piece because it is here somewhere, but luckily I have some extra pieces. All right, I do see that we are past the hour mark, so my plan for the lives is to go between an hour and an hour and a half, but once we hit that hour and a half mark, I will cut it off depending on what's happening, just so you know what to expect in future videos. But I'm going to keep going for now, and we'll see. We don't have that much left to do, so we should make it well before the half hour. So it's 5 o'clock my time, so 5:30 my time. All right, I'm going to just trim this. Oh, it's actually pretty good. So when I'm backing this, I don't want the white to show around the edge. So the best thing that I do is just glue it along one side. And very small amounts of glue so it doesn't squish everywhere. And then I'm going to make sure that I cannot see that white on that bottom side where the glue is. So I've got all the white of my letters showing through, and that glue is just at that bottom edge. And then once that glue has enough time to set, which shouldn't take too long. Oh, I have a little bit of that L still popping. See if I can dig that out of there. Nope. Popped loose. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it too much. See if I can get that glue back. Okay, once that glue is set enough, I take my scissors and I hold them not straight up and down, but I tip them at an angle, and I slide them under the part that isn't glued, and I just cut very carefully along that top edge, and that slight angle is just enough to cut off so that you don't see any of the white peeking through. So if you've never had that tip before, hopefully it's something new. And then I can glue my sentiment together. I will just kind of sneak in a little bit of glue under that white part here and there just to help it hold a little bit better, because we did only glue that tiny part. All right. And I'm going to glue that into my sentiment here. And I'm going to pop this up with foam tape. Again, you do you. I know I had some foam set aside, and my card base is here. So we are ready to start assembling. We'll see if my paste is dry. So I have a scoring blade on my trimmer because I like to score my cards before I fold them. That is just me. And then give that a crisp edge. All right, let's see how we are doing with the paste. I'm touching off to the side, and the side, this little bit feels okay. It's mostly dry, so it's not 100% dry, but it's dry enough that I can work with it. If you left it for another 10 minutes or so, it would be fine, but we're gonna go ahead and move along. All right, I am gonna start my pattern in this center piece. Well, before we do that, let's take a look at other things that you can do. So these squares you can tile down, and if you ever do slimline cards, this is a great thing for slimline cards because you can tile them down and make a border. You can tuck them close together if you don't want the gap in them and make them tighter. You could also make more of a plus sign shape. You just have to trim off where it's overlapping. Mostly dead, yes. Yep. All right, so you can do patterns starting from the corner and work your way out this way. You can do angled patterns starting from the corner and going across this way. You could even possibly zigzag. Ooh, that's one I hadn't thought of until just now. Oh, see? So I'd say play with your squares, even if you have like extra scrap squares that you cut just to play with to see what kind of pattern you like. I think there's a lot of options to this one, and I really like that. I really like that. But to show you how I created this one, I started off with my square and I turned it onto its angles, and then I just kind of eyeballed where the middle would be. Again, I'm not going to do the math if I don't have to. And I'm putting glue just below where those tips create that straight line. And then I'm going to line up those tips, and I will hold this up to the camera in a moment. I'm going to line up those tips with the top edge of the card, and then we'll cut that piece off after that glue is set. I'm going to go ahead and keep aligning my tiles. I'm just going to leave a little bit of a gap. You could leave a lot of gap, you could leave no gap. I'm just going to leave a little bit of a gap so it looks like that grout, and it feels like my paste is completely dry. At least that one feels completely dry at this point. So I'm not going to worry about it. So like I said, it dries pretty fast. So the Simon Hurley paste really impressed me. Okay, and then I will do the one on this side. And the reason I'm doing this way is that it helps me align this next one better so it's not too far left or right. And if anything is feeling off, I still have the glue is wet enough that I can wiggle things into place. So let's go ahead and do that one. And then I'm going to do, again, the same off to the side. And then you could leave it like that, or we can go back and fill in the gaps that are left. So I know I had one of my squares didn't turn out. So I am down by a square, which will be a little bit challenging to fill in all the gaps. But I'll show you how to fill in the gaps, and then if I want to finish up that square some other time, I can do that. All right, so this is what I have at this point. To fill in these gaps, it's pretty easy. I'm just going to use my big piece, put it on this side, glue it, cut that off, and then that means I will still have this left-hand side that I can bring over here, glue, and cut it off. And that will give me these two gap pieces. So I will go ahead and do that. And I'm going to cut it even before the glue is quite dry. It might shift on me, but I can always move it back into place. I'm going to hold that. And I like, for cutting off these nice long straight edges on cards, I really like my Spellbinder shears. So those ones should be dry enough. And then I know that one was still a little wet, so I might need to wiggle it into place. Okay, that's all right. So this is the piece that we have cut off. So I'm just going to turn it around and use the piece on the other side and add the glue there. Okay. Off while we're at it. Okay, filling in these other corners ended up being a little awkward, but if you want to just take this piece that you cut off, you can do again left and right. So that's what I'm going to do. Or if you have one more piece left over, you can use that one to fill in. So I'm just going to use what I've got. And I think I was tempted to put all the glue on at once, but I'm going to try and avoid that. So this point should line up with the line created by the grid. And then I'm going to just rough cut that one for now so that I can glue the other side. And then once the glue is more set, I can come in and do the detailed trim. And with that, I'll take a drink. How are you guys doing? All right, we are in the home stretch, so I think you can probably figure out how everything wraps up from here. It looks like that cut didn't come off quite straight, so I'm going to go back and fix that. Okay, there we go. So that is the tile pattern that I created, and I'm going to get my sentiment on there. Piecing and gluing. All right, yeah, almost there. Oh, I did have, there we go. I did have my my little foam pieces on there. I did really debate about where to place my sentiment. I thought I wanted it down here, but as I was playing with it, you could even like turn your card sideways and try a different placement. But I liked where these lines kind of intersected. I thought that made a nice visual pathway to follow to get to the sentiment, so that's what I ended up doing. So I'm going to stick it. I'm going to stick that there. Let's see. I wonder if I like the lighter color background or the darker color background. And then the last thing I did was just adding sequins to the circular centers of each tile. Again, totally optional, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. And I did have them out. I did indeed. So there you go. This is our first project, our first craft along for the Advent all year. I hope you guys had a good time. I hope you will want to join me for the future events that I come up with. I have some ideas for doing some holiday themed stuff as we go through the year. How do you feel about that? Do you want to do holiday stuff or not? Let me know so that I can plan to what you guys are thinking you would like to see. I like the Crafty Advent Calendar because it's not Christmas themed, but it's still something fun during the Christmas holiday. So do you want to see holiday themed projects as we move throughout the year, or do you want to try and keep them more neutral so that you can use your cards for whatever? Because I had an idea for definitely a Halloween one, which I'm totally looking forward to, so I'm going to stick with that one. But you can use it. That one would be good for kids too, if you don't necessarily want to do a Halloween project. Hopefully that one would be good for kids. I donate a lot of my cards, so I just kind of make what I enjoy, and then they'll find some use for them with the donation center. Oh, you love it. Thank you. Oh, nice. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. You like the holiday theme now and then? Okay. Because I have an idea maybe for Easter, and then the one for Halloween. So that's what I'm thinking right now. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and finish gluing these off camera before I send this card out. And let me come back to, I always forget when I'm doing live streams. You love the Advent calendar, but you would like to do maybe some holiday stuff? Okay. Thank you for the feedback, guys. I will keep that in mind as I plan some of the future events and activities. And I was looking through my Advent products last night, making a list of ideas, and it's like, ooh, I see this shape in that piece and this shape in that piece. So my brain is going. It's narrowing the ideas down that I think is hard sometimes. Are these going to be on Fridays? Okay. Yes, there was a problem with my communication with the timing of things. These ones will be on Fridays, and it is, I don't want to steer you wrong. Let me double check my calendar. The Advent all year will be on Fridays. I have another live stream that will be happening on Wednesday next week. So we've got the 3rd. I'm trying to find my calendar amongst all the things that I got off my desktop when I tried to open up all my live stream software. That's not it. Let's see, calendar. I don't want to steer you wrong. So we are on 1, 2, 3. It's the 4th. Oh, it's the 4th Friday. Okay, maybe that's where I went wrong. Okay, I've got some things to clear up. These will be on Fridays. I will make my dates more clear when I post Facebook, the blog, and the YouTube community group so that we're all on the same page. I thought I had said one number, but I'm looking at my calendar and it looks like something different. So I will tell you on my calendar, the next one is scheduled for the 27th of February. That is what I've got on my calendar, and that is what we're gonna stick with. So these ones will be on Friday, and then I do have a Wednesday live stream as well, and that is, I've lost my window for the comments. Okay, I know where it is. It's hiding. Aha, there it is. That live stream is my mystery box make series, and that is where I have a warehouse box from a crafty store. I have no idea what's in the box. I reach in, I pull 3 things out, and then I make something. So I have no idea what's going to happen. Totally inspired by the Chopped cooking show where they have their mystery baskets of ingredients. Totally love that show, and so I do it the crafty version. Let's see, Fridays at 4 are a great time. All right, I'm glad the Pacific time works. Nice. Okay, so yes, I will try and be very careful about my wording with the timing when I get to posting all of this. But anyway, if you want to join me for the next live stream, that will be next week on Wednesday at 4 p.m. So that is going to be the schedule, Fridays and Wednesdays for live streaming once a month for each of those. And the mystery box has had some weird things happen in the past, and never know what you're gonna get. I never know what I'm gonna get, and I used to do them not live, and it scared me so much to go live with them. But I'm starting to feel excited about it and enjoying it, so I hope you guys do too. Okay, well, thank you so much, Michelle, for being there, and message me. All right, that is it for tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you again soon with more crafty videos.